Redevelopment and Housing Commission. Today is March 27, 2019. I would like to invite two members of the public to give the Pledge of Allegiance. Can I please have Andrew and Camila come forward? So let us know when you would like us to begin.
Hi, my name is Andrew.
And my name is Camila.
And we are both from Garfield Gators Elementary School.
And we are also from the Vedlock community group.
And please stand up and look at the flag and please put your right hand over your heart.
And let's begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
Thank you, Andrew and Camila. Madam Recording Secretary, may you please take roll call?
Commissioner Aguinaga. Present. Commissioner Garcia. Present. Commissioner Perez.
Present.
Commissioner Chair Ramos.
Present.
Commissioner Vice Chair Santana.
Present.
Commissioner Ursua.
Present.
Commissioner Tardif.
Present.
Commissioner Limon.
Present.
Commissioner Frazier.
Present.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you. Seeing a quorum, the meeting is officially called to order. This is time for the Commission to consider matters under consent calendar. Items include 1 through 4. Do any members have any corrections to the minutes? Items they wish to pull for separate discussion or abstain on?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner
I'll
Ursula?
be abstaining because of my absence on those meetings.
Thank you. Anybody else? Do I have a motion to consider items 1 through 4?
I make a motion to consider item 1 to 4.
Thank you, Commissioner Aguinaga. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Perez. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstaining?
Yes.
Thank you. The matter is approved with a vote of 8-0. Is that right? No. 9-0. Yes, sir. 901? Yeah. Thank you. We're now moving on to the business calendar. We will now consider matters under the business calendar. The first item on the business calendar is item number 5, Community Development Block Grant Public Service Funding Allocations for fiscal year 2019 through 2020. Will staff report on the matter?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairwoman Ramos. This item is the conclusion of a very lengthy process that staff started back in November. And our commission joins housing commissions and community development commissions across the country in this very important process for our community and communities across the country in allocating these limited public service funds for nonprofit organizations from our community development block grant program. Ms. Mikkel Daly is going to provide context and history of how we got here and then present the item to the commission for deliberation in this direction.
Good evening. So as Judson said, it's been a lengthy process, and what brought us here started back in October. On October 24th, the Commission approved the nonprofit application for CDBG funds. It moved to Council, and Council approved on December 18th. And then marketing and nonprofit outreach efforts included a press release, use of social media via the city's Facebook page, emails to nonprofit organizations through a distribution list, mailings to nonprofits, and a dedicated CDBG webpage. The city solicited applications for nonprofit organizations from January 2nd through February 4th via an online application system. A total of 25 organizations applied for funding for 29 programs. Of those who applied, 2 applications were collaborative applications and 4 organizations submitted an application for more than one program. From February 5th through March 5th, commissioners reviewed and rated the applications, and during that time we were able to have 2 public hearings on February 26th and February 28th, where the nonprofit organizations came and presented and explained their programs, and the commissioners were able to ask detailed questions to learn more about the funding that they were requesting. On March 7th, we had a special meeting, and this was actually new this year. This is not a meeting that was conducted last year, where the commissioners finalized their application review with the help of 3 possible funding scenarios from staff. And Exhibit 1 in today's agenda shows the funding recommendations for approval by the Commission that will be sent to City Council at a public hearing in May or June for the Council's consideration and approval. And I'll just read this part. Funding recommendations are contingent upon the final allocation of CDBG program funds from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The approved CDBG public service allocation will be increased or decreased in proportion to the actual grant allocation. Should the increase be enough to fund additional nonprofits at the minimum funding level, funds will be allocated to the next highest scoring organization before the remainder is distributed to the already high-performing organizations in proportion to the actual grant allocation. And the fiscal year or the funding year for the CDBG program starts July 1st and ends June 30th, 2020. Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions from any of the commission members?
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on the matter? If so, you may fill out a request to speak form with the recording secretary. You have 3 minutes to speak. Also, we will not accept any additional request to speak cards once we begin the public comment session. If you haven't already done so, please give your form to the recording secretary. So we have 2 speakers. First we have, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, Bertio Agassi.
Good evening, and you got my name right, so that's a miracle in and of itself. My name is Bertil Agassi. I'm the new executive director of Wise Place. I've been here for about 120 days, and thank you for everything that you do in the community. I'm here to really ask you for your continued support to fund our Steps to Independence program. We are the only provider for services for homeless housing and hope services for unaccompanied women. Our grant is to make sure that 40 women do not live on the streets of Santa Ana and that they are safely in our shelter. 38% of our residents through this grant and 38% of every woman that we serve is a Santa Ana resident. So, you know, funding for Wise Place is to keep our community safe and help empower these women in their self-sufficiency. And I think our impact speaks for itself. 100% maintain employment, 70% move to safe and permanent housing, 25% move to adequate second stage housing, and 65% adequately save for their future. And these are women that make these great strides through our program who were previously homeless and on the streets of Santa Ana. So I ask you for your support. And I know in 17 and 18, prior to my arrival, we didn't fulfill our service goals. But today, I checked our updated numbers and we're at 30 women. And when I got here 3 months ago, we are at only about a dozen. So I hope that you continue to believe in our organization and our impact, and I'm here to continue our outcomes at Wise Place. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I now have Diego Zarate and Rebecca Rader come to the front?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. So good evening, Chair Ramos and fellow commissioners. My name is Diego Zarate. I am the Volunteer Recruitment Coordinator for CASA, which is a court-appointed special advocate of Orange County. I am a 23-year resident of Santa Ana, and I graduated from Santa Ana High School myself, so I'm an alumni. And I started off at CASA as a case supervisor, which allowed me to assist community volunteers and with their efforts to support the youth in the welfare system. And now I'm a volunteer recruitment coordinator. So my job is to go out into the community, recruit volunteers, and make sure that I am explaining what we do, who we are, and trying obviously to get more people involved in the organization. And as you guys, if you guys don't know, CASA of Orange County serves the most severely abused, neglected, and abandoned children of Orange County. And they've been removed from their homes because of neglect, like I mentioned, and because their parents are not able to take care of them. So we recruit and train and supervise volunteers within the community that are advocating for the youth's best interest. And on top of that, on top of advocating, they're also mentors to the youth that we serve, so the kids in the foster care system. And they build strong, lasting relationships with them. These relationships are more, and often than more, they're the only stable relationship that they have with an adult. So just giving you guys a kind of a brief breakdown, we actually are located in Santa Ana. Within the past 33 years, we've been able to train over 3,000 volunteers and have helped over 6,000 youth in the foster care system. And just as a resident of Santa Ana and a member of the CASA OC staff member, I wanted to thank you guys for the recommendation of the $30,000 grant for the city of Santa Ana. And this money will be used for our transitional age youth program that helps youth ages 16 to 21 with their transition into their adulthood by focusing on education, financial management, employment, and housing. We are proud and happy to say that our efforts combined with our generous grant will allow us to align with the City of Santa Ana's strategic plan. And strategic plan goal number 2, strategy 2A, youth education and expanding youth programming, will match perfectly with the goals and objectives of our transitional age program. Once again, thank you for your support and the recommendation for this grant.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public that would like to come forward and provide public comment? Seeing as there are none, before I take a motion, would any members of this commission like to make a comment regarding the CDBG process and how we selected these organizations? Go ahead, Commissioner Perez.
Thank you, public, for speaking. I know we spent a lot of time and energy in discussing. The only recommendation that I would like to make is potentially to move Wise Place to be the first runner-up for additional funds. I did speak with city staff on the work that they've been doing, and I know they've had some change and transition with staff, but historically they've been here for the city, serving our most vulnerable population. I know previously with the potential additional funds, we were taking a look at Extreme being the first organization. But being a housing commission and knows that I think that vulnerable population is key and critical, so I would love to move Wise Place up to receive the first amounts of money, Extreme second, and then followed thereby.
I second that.
Thank you. I'd like to hear from the rest of the commissioners on their thought on this. So staff, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we can make this change with the motion, correct?
Yes, you would make an amendment to the recommended action for the 20th organization that was going to receive funding, which was the Heritage Museum. You would be moving up instead Wise Place.
No, actually would be leaving the Heritage Museum, but we are anticipating receiving additional funds. So those additional funds, the first organization to receive those would then be Wise Place, followed by Santa Ana Extreme.
So Wise Place receiving funds would be conditional on us receiving at least $30,000 to award to them.
That makes sense.
Yes.
That direction.
I want to respect the process that we took many times and hours, so I wouldn't move them in front of any of the organizations that we've already approved. However, we are anticipating receiving additional funds, approximately $86,000 that we're potentially looking at receiving. This would give Wise Place that first opportunity for those funds.
Thank you, Commissioner Perez. I'd like to just hear from every commissioner on their thoughts on this before I entertain a motion with a possible amendment. Commissioner Limon, sorry, Commissioner Sua, you had raised your hand earlier.
I did, thank you. My comment isn't with regards to the motion. I wanted to let the commissioners know and the public know. I thank everybody for their participation in the CDBG process and the commissioners for putting in the work. Unfortunately, I was out of town for most of the process. I had a trip that was planned, but we received a new baby in the family, and she came 3 weeks early, and that took me out of the entire process for the applicant. So I will be abstaining from this tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Sua, for the transparency. Commissioner Limon, can you share if you would be okay with us moving Wise Place up?
I agree with what Commissioner Perez has said so far. Yes. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Vasquez.
I want to be clear that I heard correctly. It's Weiss Place first and Heritage second?
No. So as of now, we have 20 organizations that would receive funding. Heritage Museum of Orange County being one. We wouldn't change. We wouldn't remove anybody from. We wouldn't change that whatsoever. But if we receive additional funding, and if we receive at least 30,000 additional, Wise Place would then receive that money over Santa Ana Extreme.
Oh.
And we would follow suit in that order.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that something you feel comfortable with, Commissioner Vasquez?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're
Vice Chair.
welcome.
Thank you, Vice Chair Santana.
No, I respect Commissioner Frazier's recommendation. However, Perez, I'm sorry. Excuse me, Jim. Sorry, I don't know why, Mr. Frazier. It's always a confusion here, but it's just like. But you know, part of our strategic alignment plan is to incorporate education as well as recreational activity, and so I kind of feel it's always when we think about our youth. They need that support in that building, and so I'm a proponent for after school programs and these programs. But for now, I would have to say that if we do receive the extra money, I would love to see those money goes to these sports programs for our youth. So for that, I don't recommend Jim's motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Santana. Commissioner Perez, I support your recommendation, and I would support your motion. Commissioner Garcia.
When are we going to receive word on extra, if we're going to get extra funds?
We're hoping any day now. Yeah, really, any day now. It's just a matter of time before we receive the official notification fund from HUD on our official funding for fiscal year 1920.
I was just curious to know. With that, I support Commissioner Perez's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier.
I support Commissioner Perez's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Aguinaga.
I support Perez's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Tardif.
At the last meeting, I had supported extreme sports ahead of the other groups, so I will stay with extreme sports. I would recommend them. In other words, I would concur with Commissioner Santana's recommendation.
Thank you. Well, Commissioner Perez, we've now gauged interest. Would you like to make a motion with a potential amendment?
Yes, please. I'd like to make a motion to amend our additional funds that we received. Number 1 would go to Wise Place. Number 2 would go to Santa Ana Extreme. Number 3 would go to Nati's house, and then continuing from there.
Staff, do you need the motion read as stated in the agenda with a clear amendment?
You can say just staff's recommendation with that amendment as stated.
Okay, I want to make a motion for staff's recommendations with the amendment of moving Wise Place to the first spot.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? All those abstaining? Aye. So if I heard correctly, that was 8-1-1. Sorry, staff, I just want to get some clarification. Are our student member and our tenant members able to vote on this item?
No, the student member and the housing commissioners are not voters for this item. So I believe your vote count.
So I'll do that again.
Was Commissioner Tardif a yes or no?
Sorry, were you a yes on that vote?
I'm a yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. 511.
Yeah, that would be the official count. 511 on the final vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So the motion passes. We're now going to, the second item on the business calendar is item number 6, Emergency Solutions Grants Program funding for fiscal year 2019 through 2020. Will staff report on the matter?
Thank you very much, Chairwoman Ramos, and again, congratulations to the Commission on completing a very thorough process for the allocation of our CDBG public service funds for fiscal year 1920. We do look forward to moving forward with that recommendation to City Council as soon as we receive the final allocation of funding from HUD. If you have an opportunity to discuss with your council member regarding your recommendations, that would assist in that process to ensure that your council members are informed of the action and the recommendation by the Commission. The next item on the agenda is our Emergency Solutions Grant Funding for fiscal year 1920. I'd like to invite our Senior Community Development Analyst, Ms. Terry Eggers, to the podium to speak on this item.
Good evening, Commissioners. This evening we're asking your approval for the renewal of the Emergency Solutions Grant Program for fiscal year 1920, as well as authorizing our City Manager and City Clerk to execute agreements with our nonprofit organizations and an MOU with our Santa Ana Police Department HEART program. In 2017, the city released an RFP as part of the Orange County ESG collaborative with the cities of Santa Ana, Anaheim, and Garden Grove. That RFP had 2 renewals as part of that RFP. Twice we have exercised that option, and that would be moving forward for fiscal year 2019-2020. One of the reasons that we did not go out for an RFP this year is because we are in our 5th and final year of our annual action of our consolidated 5-year consolidated plan. And next year we will be required to go out into the community and to hold community meetings to get a lot more input from the community, and all of that information will be part of this ESG release of the RFP. So we went ahead and did the renewal this year, which is exactly what Anaheim and Garden Grove are doing as well. Also part of the authorization to go out for renewal was the redistribution of funds, which is actually what Santa Ana did this year, because 2 of our nonprofits decided that they did not want to have ESG funding next year. So what is before you this year are staff recommendations of how we are anticipating utilizing our ESG funds for next year. As you can see, a large pot of the money is going towards our brand new Link emergency shelter in the city. I hope you've all had an opportunity to go out and look at it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And so $200,000 will be utilized for that specific shelter. Additionally, usually we don't have to worry about this too much, but HUD does place a cap of 60% of our funds that can only be used for shelter and outreach together. So by utilizing the $200,000 for the Link, we needed to definitely look at how we were exercising the remaining dollars. We think that we've done a good job, and we're asking this evening for your approval to move forward with to the City Council. Do you have any questions in regards to this recommendation?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Aguinaga.
I have been working with you for many, many years in the past on this special program, and I think it's great. So I will like to have support from the other commissioners to approve the 200,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Aguilar. We'll take comments or questions from everyone else. And then if you'd like to make that motion, you're welcome to. Commissioner Frazier?
Yeah, actually, I think we spoke in regards to what type of information do we get back from the entities as far as how well those programs and those operating costs and funding is working for them? I think I phrased it a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Our ESG program is a reimbursable program, which means that the nonprofits are required to submit an invoice on a quarterly basis. As part of that process, they are also providing us with their performance for that quarter. So we review what the dollars that they are asking for to see if they're on track and how many individuals they have assisted. When I do the PowerPoint presentation on the annual action plan, I actually put those numbers up there because you had called and asked. So you'll see that.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia? Thank you. I have one question. Just looking at Exhibit 1 on page 6-4. So I see that Mercy House is receiving $25,000 for homeless prevention services or activities. Can you just explain briefly what those activities are or what they look like?
Yes, homeless prevention would be for those individuals that are at risk of homelessness. So those would be individuals that may have a 3-day pay or quit, and utilizing security deposit, deposit rental assistance, 1 month, 2 month, 3 months. It's temporary. It's just to kind of get them over the hurdle. As we know, sometimes a car payment, something goes wrong with your car or a medical bill can just put you right there on the edge. So this program helps those households with those.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear about that. Vice Chair Santana. Thank you. Commissioner Perez.
No comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Ursula.
Just a clarification that the 60% cap and outreach, that's the one that's going to Santa Ana admin. The rest of the 35,000, is that for outreach?
No, it's outreach and shelter together. Mm-hmm. That would be the 60%. So it excludes the 35 for the admin.
And is that then what you find in the 200,000 that's included in there? Great.
Yes.
And then could you give a little bit of information as to what goes in the Santa Ana admin?
Yes, that's the oversight, the monitoring, reviewing the invoices, submitting all of the reports to HUD that are required, doing environmental reviews, going out and monitoring, on-site monitoring, and also the fiscal monitoring.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Commissioner Vasquez.
No comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Limon?
I have no comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Tardif?
No comment.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to, are there any members of the public that would like to speak on this matter? If so, you may fill out a request to speak form with the recording secretary. You have 3 minutes to speak. Also, we will not accept any additional request to speak cards once we begin the public comment session. If you haven't already done so, please give your form to the recording secretary. Seeing as there are no public comments, do we have a motion to approve item 6, Emergency Solutions Grants Program funding for fiscal year 2019 through 2020?
I make a motion to pass the fiscal year for 200,000 for the emergency shelter.
Thank you, Commissioner Aguinaga. Do I have a second to this motion?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Perez. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? The motion passes by unanimous consent, 10-0. Was that correct, staff, or are our tenant and student members unable?
9-0 is the correct vote. Since the ESG funding is for housing, the tenant commissioners participate in this vote, and our student commissioner is not a voting member.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. The third item on the business calendar is item number 7. Approve the fiscal year 2019 through 2020 annual action plan for the community development block Block Grant Program, Home Investment Partnerships Program, and Emergency Solutions Grants Program, and authorize submission to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time and place for the public hearing of the Community Redevelopment and Housing Commission of the City of Santa Ana to approve the fiscal year 2019 through 2020 annual action plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program, Home Investment Partnerships Program, and Emergency Solutions Grants Program, and authorize submission to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Staff, would you like to provide a summary of your staff report?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairwoman Ramos. We have a presentation for you today on this item. I'd like to invite again our Senior Community Development Analyst, Ms. Terry Eggers, to the podium.
Hi again. Okay, the annual action plan. As I stated earlier, every 5 years we have a consolidated annual plan. Included in that plan is a one-year allocation, and each year we go in and we do the one-year plan. So this is what's before you this evening. So what is the annual action plan? It is prepared as a requirement to receive our CDBG, ESG, and home programs. So if we do not turn this in, we would be in jeopardy of not receiving funds. So it's a very important document. It is actually an implementation tool and indicates how we are going to achieve our goals within that 1 year. We have it aligned with all of our goals within our city, and we make sure that they're used to create strong, sustainable communities with affordable homes for all. The 3 programs, again, that are utilized are the CDBG, Home, and ESG. While we do not yet have our figures for next fiscal year, we are anticipating approximately the same amount. And these are the numbers that we received for the current fiscal year, 2018-2019. So in regards to community development, the activities that we are able to utilize our funds for would be public service facilities, public facility improvements, code enforcement, public services, housing rehabilitation, down payment assistance, and then again our admin, which includes our monitoring and program oversight. One of the activities that we're looking forward to is our 6th and Lacey Park. In 2015, over $900,000 of CDBG funds were used for the acquisition of 2 properties. Is it 2 properties? 3 properties. And in 2016, about $46,000 were used for the demolition and clearance of those properties. On March 30th, there is going to be a groundbreaking for the park. So as you can see, sometimes these projects take several years to come to fruition, but it's looking like it's going to be great. Our home program. We can use that for multifamily housing acquisition and new acquisition, construction, rehabilitation. We can utilize it for our CHOTOs for new construction, again, down payment assistance, foreclosed single-family acquisition, and again, admin and program oversight. A couple of our highlighted programs that we've used home for are our depot at Santiago and the Orchard. The depot has over 70 affordable housing units, and the Orchard has 71 supportive housing units. To see how those programs really work out with our finances, as you can see, we utilize low-income housing tax credits. We layer that with home and CDBG funds, project-based vouchers, HCD infill grants, the variety of HCD mental health funds, project-based vouchers. As you can see, a lot of money goes into the types of projects that we're working on. For ESG, we utilize those funds for homeless prevention, street outreach, shelter, data, rapid rehousing, and again, admin and program oversight. Currently, for Q1 and Q2, these are the individuals that have experienced homelessness in Santa Ana that have been assisted. For street outreach, over 800 individuals. shelter, 262, homeless prevention, 41, rapid rehousing, 24, for over 1,000 people so far in just 2 quarters that have been assisted. So today is our public hearing, and the document is available for a 30-day period starting yesterday through April 27th. We anticipate going to City Council in May. We will be waiting until we have actual numbers, which have not been released yet by HUD, but as soon as they do, we will be going to City Council, and then we will submit those to HUD. And all of our performance in regards to what we are doing in the action plan will come before you again when we do our CAPER, which is done at the end of each year. And you will probably see that in around August or September. And that is the end of my presentation. Does anyone have a question for me?
Are there any questions at this time?
I'm just excited to go to the opening of the park. It's going to be so beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so much for adding those numbers to it. It really kind of helps us kind of look at a report card to see how they go.
You're welcome.
Yeah, she's good.
Thank you. So I encourage my fellow commissioners to look through the report as I seek comments from the public. Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Sua.
Yeah, also thank you for the report. For clarification, so then a lot of the examples that you provided were examples from how the funds have been used up until now, but we're mostly having large allocations, not to any particular projects at this time. Is that right?
So are you referring to the CDBG?
Right, for all of them, it's not, is it allocating funds to specific projects at this time or just major areas for?
There are individual projects too. So this again is the action plan of what we're anticipating utilizing this year. However, the slides that I showed you was a nice project for the CDBG project that you can see for that has been used for the last couple of years. But in the action plan, we will have some specific projects that are coming forward, and we're in the process right now of finalizing all of those. And then the CDBG nonprofit, that was what went before you tonight, so those were actual projects, as well as ESG, those were actual nonprofits that we are allocating funds to.
Thank you. And then my other question is for the 30-day community input window, is this then available, how is it being made available to the public in addition to tonight's hearing?
It is currently on our community development website. It was also placed in the Orange County Register, La Opinion, and Viet, whatever the Vietnamese magazine newspaper is called. Then there are hard copies that are placed in our library and on the 6th floor and 8th floor of City Hall. So individuals can come in, and they can also call and we can direct them to where we have those documents.
And lastly, the way that they can then provide comment, is it in writing, by calling? What are the avenues?
In writing.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ursula. I'm going to proceed with the public hearing script, and I also have some questions that I will ask at the end.
Okay.
Recording Secretary, were there any written communications? Thank you. At this time, we would like to hear from the public. If you wish to speak, please complete a request to speak form and provide it to the Recording Secretary. Step forward to the podium. You may voluntarily state your name and address, and please be kind enough to limit your comment to 3 minutes. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing as there are none, I'll come back to commission member comments and questions. Are there any commissioners that have comments and or questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Frazier.
I was just curious, and I believe this is a staff question, but do we have do we have an update on the outstanding home and CDBG projects that are in process, not complete yet? Are we going to be, when do we get an update on?
We can provide information on our outstanding CDBG projects that that are not complete, and then we can also provide an update on where our home-funded multifamily housing projects are. Starting with the home-funded multifamily housing projects. So the city, through the approval of our annual action plan from the previous fiscal year, and they had made our funds available for multifamily housing development, affordable housing development, and the city issued an RFP on July 2nd, making available $3 million in home program funds for the development of affordable housing. Through that RFP process, the city has so far, the city also made available $6 million in other additional sources of financing for affordable housing. So far the city has committed $6 million of that funding, as well as 2 housing successor agency owned parcels and 100 HUD-VASH project-based vouchers. That remaining $3 million in home program funds, staff is recommending that commitment of funding for a project for the 1126 East Washington Avenue site. If you exit off the 5 and you get on Santa Ana Boulevard, it's right there at the corner. It's our biggest parcel that we made available through that RFP, and so that our $3 million in home program funds will go to a very large multifamily new construction affordable housing project on that site that'll come before the commission hopefully in April, if not the latest in May. That's the latest update on our use of the home program funds for our CDBG projects under development. David, do you have any updates on major projects that we can provide an update on?
We have a lot of capital improvement projects that are currently going on. A lot of them are stuck right now in our design phase of the project. I'll give you a couple examples. One of them is Santa Anita Park. We're going to redo the whole soccer field. So we're tearing up the turf that's there now, and we're going to install artificial turf. We're going to provide new lighting at that soccer field. So that just takes a long process to get out of the design phase. There's a lot of engineering that has to take place for that. In addition to that, we have at Hedinger neighborhoods and Madison neighborhoods, we're redoing a lot of the streets. So we're tearing off the streets, and we are completely redoing all the streets. They have a lot of cracks. The trees, the roots have uprooted a lot of the concrete. So we're going to redo all that as well. What I can do in the next meeting is provide you a list of all the current capital improvement projects and give you the status of them as well. Usually with CDBG, we fund street improvements, we fund park improvements, and neighborhood-sponsored improvements. With neighborhood-sponsored improvements, this coming year, we're intending to put artificial ivy against walls in certain neighborhoods to prevent graffiti. So it's a graffiti abatement type program that we're going to do. And that's for 1920. But next meeting, I'll definitely provide you a list of the current capital improvement and the future capital improvement projects that we have going.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, David, while you're here, do you have any updates on the Myrtle and Rape Park? Which I believe the land for that park was purchased at the same time as the land for the Sixth and Lacey Park.
Correct. I'm really excited about that too, and I've been pushing Public Works on that as well. So we did, CDBG purchased that property. It's currently in the design phase as well. We're hoping that it's going to leave that phase in July, and hopefully we'll do a groundbreaking ceremony in August. But I will keep you posted on that as well.
Thank you. And my interest is specifically to ensure that a lot of the community members from that neighborhood and a lot of the youth from KidWorks that were advocating for that park are a part of that design process as well.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Commissioner Aguinaga.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to ask you if there is any way that we have more patrolling officers in Civic Center and Ray. It seems like the crime has been increasing and the tagging. My poor husband, he's 85 years old and he's get the ladder and paint himself. So I don't know who should I talk to? Dave?
We could actually talk to code enforcement on that.
Parque Salvador.
Yes, so they actually go out there to all the public facilities to make sure that everything is up to par. If there's any graffiti that's taken place, they would contact our graffiti abatement program, and they would immediately go out there and take care of it within 24 hours. So if after the meeting, if you can send me an email, I'll make sure that we follow through on that and get that taken care of for you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Are there any other commission member questions or comments? Okay, I have a, sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Garcia.
Just wanted to ask a question about the anticipated funding. So let's say that we're anticipating the same amount of funds, but let's say that we get more or less than what we have here. Can you walk us through the process of what you do with those funds?
Of course. So, so starting with the 872,000 in public service funds. So we received direction from the commission on how to allocate additional funding that we could receive. And let's run the scenario if we receive additional funding, right? Mm-hmm. So if we receive additional funding, we have direction from the commission on how to allocate it for the public service programs. If we receive additional funding for our capital projects, code enforcement, economic development, parks, then we'll go back to those executive directors who submitted those applications for those projects, and we'll notify them, okay, we have additional funding for you. What additional projects can you fund, or would you propose with these additional funds before we finalize the CDBG program budget and then bring it to City Council. For our ESG program funds, it would be proportional, right? So it'd be proportional to all 5 organizations that are currently recommended by the Commission for renewal funding. And for our home program funds, that would be great news to our housing division staff, that we would be able to increase the amount of funding available in our forthcoming RFP for affordable housing development for the next fiscal year. Now let's assume there's a decrease. For the public service agencies, I would believe if there's a decrease, it would be proportionally decreased across all the organizations, right? Okay, so it'd be proportionally decreased for all the public service funded organizations. For our capital projects, code enforcement, parks, public works projects, we would evaluate where we would discuss with those program managers, with those executive directors, what projects can we reduce funding for, while still trying to maximize the impact of these limited funds for our community. For our at CDBG, if there's a decrease for ESG, it would be proportional across all 5 organizations. And then for our home program, again, it would reduce the amount of funding we have available for affordable housing development in our forthcoming RFP.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah. Yep.
And if I could just add one other item, that if we do get an increase, let's say it's $80,000, we have to allocate that $80,000 appropriately through everything that's funded through CDBG. So 15% of that $80,000 will go to public service, 20% to administration, and then the remainder to everything else, the housing projects and capital improvement projects. So I just want to make sure that there's a clear understanding of that. So 15% out of whatever number we get increased of 80, 100,000, whatever it is. That will be the only amount that will be allocated to public service.
Okay.
Thank you. And I actually have a few questions. My first one is, can we have a nixle sent out to inform the public that we are accepting comments on this report?
Yes, that's something we could do. Absolutely.
Thank you. And then I have a question regarding, so on page 728, goal number 6 under code enforcement. tells us how much money has been given to code enforcement, I believe from 2015 through 2019. Am I reading that correctly?
Which page was that?
Sorry, page 7-28. So goal number 6, code enforcement. So my question is, those $815,644, are those monies exclusively for the prep program, or how does code enforcement use that? And I'm wondering because it's categorized under affordable housing.
Sure. So what we do is we allocate $765,000 to the actual enforcement part, and the remainder goes to legal, just in case there is any litigation that needs to take place.
And would that litigation be for?
From the residents to the city to the residents, any type of litigation that may occur. So we just reserve that money for legal services. And that would be for our city attorneys.
So my question is, how does it fit into the affordable housing category?
Because they go out to inspect our community, our homes, to make sure that they're up to code.
And is that exclusively through the PREP program, the Proactive Rental Enforcement Program, or is that just code enforcement?
No, it's just code enforcement, funded through CDBG.
Okay. Is there a way to ensure that those monies are going to the inspection of homes and not for the inspection for other complaints such as maintenance or businesses not being in compliance with their license, etc.?
Yes, that's a great question. So on a quarterly basis, they do provide a report to us of what areas they go out to do their inspection. And all of those areas are low to moderate income areas. So they do provide all that information to us for that. And they do get audited as well.
Okay, and then I've asked this before, hopefully there's a different answer, but does code enforcement create any sort of map per se that will show where the majority of their inspections have taken place across the city? So like whether that be by zip code or by ward?
You know, I don't know the answer to that right now, but I can definitely follow up with our code enforcement manager and get that response to you.
Thank you. And then my second question is based off page 735. And it's under number 7. So the project name is CDBG 19 Multifamily Rehab. And under planned activities, it states that the city plans to release a RFP for affordable housing development. And the RFP would be for the acquisition of eligible properties for rental housing. I'm wondering if staff has dates that they have in mind for the release of this RFP.
Yes, thank you. So staff intends to bring the RFP to City Council at the first or second meeting in June for an issuance date on July 2nd, same as our process from last year. And so we're aiming for a July 2nd issuance date.
And this would be acquisition for rehabs?
So it would be, we're again, similar to last year, we're gonna make all of our available sources of funding for affordable housing development made available in that RFP. It will include inclusionary housing funds, home program funds, the CDBG program funds that you see here, as well as unspent CDBG program funds that have carried over from the previous year. And then any remaining housing successor agency funds that we have available. The CDBG program funds will only go towards eligible projects where it's acquisition of the project or rehabilitation of and conversion of a project into affordable housing.
And do you know roughly how much money that is when you combine it all?
At this time, We have rough estimates. They're very rough estimates for you as the commission, as well as any members of the public who may hear this information. So we're estimating a range of potentially $3.5 million to $6 million at the max being made available in that RFP. So.
Thank you for that very rough estimate. And I have one more question. So this is off page 7-44. So there's a few affordable housing projects that are listed here. And I'm just wondering if we have any updates. So I know the Santa Ana Arts Collective we've talked a little bit about before. And I think the commission has expressed interest in receiving more information on these projects. So specifically, where they are in their process, do they have an interest list? What does that look like? How can the community learn more about these projects?
It's good. It's good information to add. So we, as you know, we bring forward our housing division quarterly report with an update on all of our projects under development on a quarterly basis. Your next quarterly report will be coming in to your next meeting on April 26th. And actually we had intended during our staff comments to provide you with an update on all of our various affordable housing projects under development, including the projects that you see here under page 7-44.
Thank you. And is there a reason why we don't see AmCal's First Street apartments listed here?
Great question. Again, the projects that you see here are either receiving home program funds, CDBG program funds, or project-based vouchers.
Okay. So
and so we did not include AmCal's project, which is funded through our Housing Successor Agency funds.
okay. Great. Thank you. Those are all my questions. Are there any commission members that have additional questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Perez.
Couple questions. I'm also on page 7-27 on our annual goals and objectives. So we have at the end on number 7, going to page 728 on administration, we have a total of $1,100,000 to $963,000 for administration. And then if I look at the ESG, and we just talked about in ESG, we have some admin costs in there as well. Is this admin cost set aside, not even within the programs that are built in? So like in the ESG, we have set aside admin costs. Are those all combined for this 1 million, or is that separate?
This is separate. So the admin that you're seeing here is only for the CDBG program,
Okay.
and then ESG has it set aside for admin specific to the ESG grant.
Do we have the amount to what admin cost is across, adding all the programs and then also the 1,100,000 here?
That's a good question. We know we do have the information. We could provide the information on the last 3 years of how much admin funding we've expended from our ESG and CDBG grants to the
And then
commission.
would it be the same under code enforcement? Is there admin costs in that code enforcement, 815?
So code enforcement, as opposed to the admin that you're seeing here, so there's admin costs to pay for our staffing to administer the CDBG program and the ESG program.
Mhm.
And keep in mind, the admin for the ESG program is quite minimal. It doesn't, it barely pays for any staff time to administer that very small grant. For code enforcement is actually an activity that we fund.
Yes.
And so the admin, the staffing that's charged to the grant
Is
through
direct.
our CDBG, they're direct. Yeah,
Perfect.
It's direct costs. It's
Okay.
not admin costs.
And I've been on the commission for a short amount of time, but I know at our last meeting as well, you went over the annual plan or report that we signed off on. And some of the issues and concerns I had was that there's not a lot of community information. And again, I just feel there's a lot of lacking opportunity to hear from the community in regards to the monies that is allocated for this city. And as we're continuing looking at funds and developer, like code enforcement, all these other areas, something as a commission we might want to do is look at funding maybe a nonprofit that can be, a voice of their community and support city staff in looking at these reports, going out to the community, getting information, and getting some, feedback. Because I just feel with the small amount of staff that we do have, it's a lot. And I think something we might want to think from a commission standpoint is looking at a nonprofit that we look to fund to help, get more information, run some focus groups, get some stuff going to support city staff as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Perez. Vice Chair Santana.
I would add on with Commissioner Jim that we should reach out to the school district and maybe partner with student leadership groups that they have on campus who are active and just want to plug in and maybe inspire them to become more civically engaged. The question I have here for city staff is on page 6-4 for the ESG chart. It's fine. It's the last item, but they'll just email city staff for that question. Yeah, that's fine. So disregard. Just adding on to Jim. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other commission member questions or comments? Seeing as there are none. Sorry. So now I would like to thank each speaker for their comments and to let you know that your comments will be considered in the reports. The public hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion to approve item number 7?
I make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Aguinaga. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. Are there any abstentions? That passes by unanimous consent at 9-0. Thank you. We're now going to be moving on to public comments. Does the public have any comments that they wish to share with the commission? Please note that you have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing as there are none, we will move on to staff member comments. Does staff have any comments that they wish to share with the commission?
Thank you very much, Chairwoman Ramos. I would like to start by thanking Terry Eggers for all of her work on our annual action plan. Thank you very much to Terry on bringing that forward and assisting our team to coordinate all the various components of that plan. And happy birthday to you. Yes. And then I want to thank David and Mikkel for all your tremendous work on the CDBG allocation of our public service funds. That was a very lengthy process and very exciting process, and I think next year will be easier for us. We're going to be able to build upon the experience and the advice and the guidance that we received from the commission to move that forward. So thank you both, and congratulations on your work for that. And thank you especially to our commission for all the work that you undertook to make the recommendation to City Council for those funds. If you look back on what you voted upon today, you voted upon the allocation of $872,000 to 20 nonprofit organizations in our community, as well as you voted upon the allocation of $475,000 to 5 nonprofit organizations in our community. And you also voted on our annual action plan for the allocation of $8 million in home CDBG and ESG program funds for our community. So this was a very big meeting for the commission, and we're looking forward to, you may have seen our city manager's office staff here. We're looking forward to sharing that your vote today on social media as well. So a couple other updates. I want to give an update on the RFP for affordable housing that we issued on July 2nd. In regards to our last parcel, the 1126 East Washington Avenue parcel that we made available in that RFP, as you know, our review panel made a recommendation to the County of Orange on 3 developers for the development of that site, including Related, CNC, and Jamboree Housing. The county owns the adjacent parcel, if you remember, of our 1126 East Washington Avenue site, so they're our partner to develop that site that hasn't been developed for over 2 decades. The county completed their proposal review process and provided input on the 3 proposals received. The developers have submitted revised proposals to the city now, because when the developers submitted proposals to our review panel, they submitted one set of proposals, and then when they met with the county, they had revised their proposals slightly in their deliberative process by the County of Orange. So now we're seeing those revised proposals for the first time. We're reviewing those proposals for the first time, and we are intending to reconvene our review panel to make a final determination and final award recommendation to the commission at our April 24th meeting. That's what we're aiming for, is the April 24th meeting. We're hoping that we don't bring this recommendation back any later than May, such that we can bring it to City Council in June, and then start the year off with a new RFP for the new fiscal year with more affordable housing funds. I want to provide an update on our housing element. On just the past City Council meeting, City Council adopted our housing element annual progress report. And it was very exciting information in that housing element annual progress report that was also highlighted by the Orange County Register on February 28th, in which the Register recognized that the city is one of the few cities in the state, along with San Bernardino County, West Hollywood, and Signal Hill, that ranked among the state's best performing communities for meeting housing needs. As stated in the General Plan Housing Element Annual Progress Report, Santa Ana has far exceeded its regional housing needs allocation goals. In calendar year 2018, there were a total of 1,372 building permits issued for new housing units, of which 42%, or 577 housing units, were affordable. With these new units, the city substantially exceeds the overall target for Santa Ana's RENA allocation. Even with that information, we still know that the needs for more affordable housing and healthy and safe housing opportunities for our community remain great and of utmost importance. Next, in terms of for our 5-year consolidated plan that's forthcoming and will be brought to the Commission next year. As part of that plan, staff are required to conduct a fair housing analysis of impediments. We met with 15 other Orange County cities to discuss a regional approach to the analysis this year. A regional analysis was conducted during the last update in 2015 and was a very efficient process. It was estimated that the regional approach was 2/3 less expensive for each city than if the cities had conducted their own analysis. So this year, the county and many of the remaining 12 cities in Orange County will also be joining the current 15 cities to complete a regional analysis update for that consolidated planning process for 2020 to 2025. You all received an email from David and Mikkel regarding the groundbreaking ceremony for the future 6th and Lacey Park. On this Saturday from starting at 2 o'clock at the corner of 6th and Lacey. We hope you are all able to join us and at that exciting event. And as Terry mentioned in our presentation, we use CDBG funds to purchase those 3 properties as part of a land conversion process in order to develop a community park. After completion of the acquisition, the 3 dilapidated properties were demolished and cleared to begin the design and planning of a community park, and the city is now prepared to begin construction of a community park that will satisfy the intent and goals of the CDBG program to increase civic pride, create a suitable living environment, and enhance the current sense of community for low to moderate income families in that neighborhood. And lastly, I would like to provide an update on our various affordable housing projects and various phases of affordable housing development. Relative to our other cities in Orange County, we have probably 2 times more affordable housing development going on than any other city in the county, including the County of Orange themselves. Starting with from the top with our Santa Ana Arts Collective project at 1666 North Main Street. This project is approximately 30 to 40% complete. The developer, the property management company, is going to begin holding educational sessions to inform artists, qualified and eligible artists, on how to apply for the housing to be provided there. And applications are going to start being accepted in June or July, with occupancy expected in September. So we did note down that you'd like to see the interest list, the number of applicants on the interest list for our projects. We will make sure that that information is provided as the interest list is created for this project. For our First Street Apartments project on 1440 East First Street, being developed by AmCal. This includes 68 units of affordable housing, with half of the units for families, extremely low-income families, and an investment of $8.5 million from the city. Framing is in progress on that project, and it's about 40% complete so far. We do have a conference call scheduled with the developer and their property manager to discuss the interest list, ensure our local preference is implemented and required, and we do intend to audit that interest list to ensure that that local preference is implemented for both the Santa Ana Arts Collective and the First Street Apartments project. For our Santa Ana Veterans Village project, which many of us attended the groundbreaking in January, grading has begun for that project, and again, construction is underway for that 75-unit project for homeless veterans. For our Aqua Housing project being developed by Community Development Partners in partnership with Mercy House, the developer has been working to close on their financing and obtain their building permit. This project includes an investment of 56 project-based vouchers that will make this project possible. The city's planning department has reviewed their developers' submitted plans and provided comments, and Community Development Partners has resubmitted their plans for final approval. They do expect to pull their building permit and close on their financing in early March. The tax credit deadline for them to close on their financing is April 15th. That's the drop dead deadline, so they will be pulling their building permit and closing on their financing by that date, and then breaking ground on the project. I did ask the developer whether or not they do anticipate to have a groundbreaking ceremony. They will be having a groundbreaking ceremony for this project for the commissioners to attend. For our next project at Tiny Tim Plaza at 2223 West 5th Street, being developed by Community Development Partners. This has actually been our after Aqua Housing, Tiny Tim has been our next highest priority in terms of our financing being provided. This is the new construction of a 51-unit project serving very low and extremely low-income families, with an investment of $1.3 million in our inclusionary housing funds and $4.7 million in our housing successor agency funds, for a total investment of $6 million to make this project possible. Community Development Partners is in the process of closing on their financing. They have a deadline to close on their financing and pull their building permit by May 6th. They are working with our Planning and Building Agency and Public Works Agency to secure all the city approvals required to pull their building permit. We've been working closely with the Public Works staff and planning staff to ensure that they have everything they need to from the developer and their architect and their engineer to issue that building permit to the developer. And meanwhile, we sent today our following review by our legal counsel and our full team. We sent today the second draft of their loan documents to the developer and their legal counsel for their review, and we're in the process of finalizing those loan documents and subordination agreement with their senior lender to bring to City Council on April 16th for final approval prior to the developer closing on their financing before May 6th. For our Santa Ana United Methodist Church project being developed by National Community Renaissance and Mercy House, As you know, this is the new construction of 93 units of affordable housing, of which 33 units will be set aside for permanent supportive housing, and includes an investment of $3.1 million in inclusionary housing funds and 8 project-based vouchers. The developer submitted funding applications for the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Grant Program and the No Place Like Home Grant Program. The applications for those were submitted on January 30th and February 6th, respectively. The largest of those is the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Grant Program, in which they submitted an application for $20 million. We've been successful in 2 rounds of the HSC program with applications from our community. The Depot at Santiago was awarded HSC funds. The Santa Ana Arts Collective was awarded HSC funds. In round 3, we attempted to support an application with Tiny Tim Plaza for HSC funds. They weren't successful in round 3, but with this round, we're hoping, very much hopeful that this developer will be successful in this particular project, which is on the OC streetcar line itself. I mean, that's pretty unique as an affordable housing project to be right on a streetcar line like this as a form of public transportation. We are aware of a competing application in the city of Anaheim for $20 million as well. So it's basically our project against a project in the city of Anaheim right now, and so we're hopeful that our project gets funded. And then we have seen initial indications from the state on their No Place Like Home grant application for $6 million for this project. The Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Grant Award announcement is anticipated in June 2019, and the No Place Like Home Award announcement is anticipated in mid-April. So more to come on that project. If that developer does secure those 2 sources of financing, it would be possible for them to close on their financing by the end of this calendar year, instead of us waiting, as usual, for the developer to secure the remaining financing and secure tax credits and everything. That takes a very lengthy process. So that we're very hopeful on those two grant applications for the Santa Ana United Methodist Church project. For our Francis Xavier project being developed by Homemade Orange County and Mercy House, and both the Santa Ana United Methodist Church project and Francis Xavier project are both on Santa Ana Boulevard. This involves a new construction of an affordable multifamily apartment complex consisting of 12 units of permanent supportive housing, following a commitment of funding of $1 million in housing successor agency funds and 3 project-based vouchers, as well as a long-term ground lease of our housing successor agency-owned parcel. The developer has been working very closely with our staff to revise their plans to increase the number of units on this project from 12 units to actually 17 units. So a very positive step forward to increase the density and the number of units on that site. The level of the 4 additional units would be, we're recommending the developer to have those units as at 30% AMI, so set aside for extremely low-income families with large bedroom units, so three bedroom units at that project. The level of affordability is still to be determined, and the size of the units are still to be determined for those 4 additional units. However, in addition to the expansion of the 12 units to the 17 units, the neighboring parcel of land has been listed for sale. The developer is pursuing purchasing this lot. It's an L shape. So there's, if you drive by that parcel, if you're looking at that parcel, there's a house, and then there's a 5-unit apartment complex with a garage that wraps around in an L shape right there. Well, the L shape went up for sale very recently, and so the developer is pursuing purchasing that lot to increase the number of affordable housing units that they can provide on that site. If successful, the project may be able to increase to over 30 units, which would enable the project to then qualify for low-income housing tax credits and secure their financing faster. They also submitted an application for No Place Like Home funds on January 30th, and an award announcement is anticipated for those funds in mid-April. And lastly, for our two other projects, the Budget Inn being developed by Jamboree Housing. This is the new construction of 89 units of permanent supportive housing for homeless veterans, following an investment of $1.6 million in our CDBG program funds and 89 HUD-VASH project-based vouchers. Developer has communicated to staff that they're intending to submit an application for round 2 of the competitive 9% tax credits on June 2nd. We've had 9% applications in previous all the previous rounds over the past 2 years. Tiny Tim Plaza, First Street Apartments, Santa Ana Arts Collective, I think the Depot at Santiago before that. We didn't have one in February, so this would be a positive step if this developer was able to secure their entitlements in order to apply for 9% tax credits in June in round 2 for this year. And as you know, there's only 2 rounds for 9% tax credit applications in any given calendar year. So the application is due June 3rd, and the award announcements are anticipated in late September. So we're hopeful that the developer is able to secure their entitlements and then submit this tax credit 9% tax credit application by June 3rd. And lastly, our project with Habitat for Humanity in the French Park neighborhood. This involves the new construction of 2 single-family detached homes for ownership. It includes an investment, a commitment of $231,000 in inclusionary housing funds and a 99-year ground lease agreement for the land. The developer is working on securing their additional financing necessary to complete the project before we return to City Council with the ground lease agreement and the inclusionary housing loan agreement. With that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 projects currently in various phases of development across the city, and we're working very hard on with the developer of Tiny Tim Plaza to work with them to close on their financing right now, and then our next major project is to bring forward the recommendation for the 1126 East Washington Avenue site, before then bringing forward an RFP to issue effective July 2nd with the funding we have for the next fiscal year. With that, again, congratulations to the Commission on a very thorough, lengthy, and fantastic process and transparent process for the allocation of our CDBG program funds and for the renewal of our ESG program funding. With that, do we have any additional comments to add? No, staff has no further comments.
Thank you. I'll begin with Commission member comments. Our Student Commissioner, Commissioner Limon, do you have any comments that you would like to share?
I have no comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Vasquez.
No comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Ursula.
Just thank you again to the Commission for a job well done on the CDBG process this year, and for staff for your updates. And to a comment that Commissioner Perez made earlier, definitely would agree about having a little more public input and participation on some of these allocations. Especially, it was interesting to see that there's the reports that you'll receive from executive directors as to some of the allocations for capital improvement projects and whatnot. Those are great opportunities for people from the neighborhoods to be able to participate, and so I'm interested to see what else could develop from that comment. And other than that, good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Perez.
Just want to thank city staff, David McCall, Terry, beautiful job. Continue to do a wonderful job. Fellow commissioners, thank you for your time and energy, and I know it was a long process, and really feel just really good about that process. And again, I just do think, from the dais, we really need to think of how we can get more of our voice from our community, and what we need to do on this side to support staff and getting more input. As we hear, we have more affordable housing than any other city. There's a lot of good stuff we're doing. I think even getting that information out and continuing to serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Santana.
just want to echo what Commissioner Orzua and Commissioner Perez have said. I also want to take this time to actually recognize Chairwoman Ramos for being nominated for being recognized by Congressman Lou Correa for being Women of the Month, correct?
I wasn't aware.
Maybe you didn't make the list. I apologize. It's been a very long day. But I do know it was her birthday this month, so I want to wish you happy birthday with that.
Thank you.
Close mic.
Commissioner Garcia.
I just wanted to thank again what everybody said and thank staff and my fellow commission members for all your hard work on this process. It's been a journey. I did want to ask about that article that came out in the OC Register. I remember clicking on it and it was blocked because I don't subscribe to that newspaper. Are we able to send the PDF?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I would
yeah.
love to read it.
Yeah,
Sounds like it was a good article.
Absolutely.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier.
I wanted to thank Terry for the time and patience to go through that process with me a couple days ago, or day before yesterday. That was I really appreciated that, and I appreciated seeing it in your presentation as well. And I wanted to mention the Santa Ana app they're very responsive when it comes to graffiti. So the Santa Ana app for your phone, it's called My Santa Ana. They're really responsive on the graffiti for that. I was curious, maybe a question for staff. The development at 2525 North Addison, are they contributing any of their units to the low-income housing pool, or have they opted to pay out of that? Do we know?
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. In regards to the 2525 North Main project, the developer has opted to pay the in lieu fee, and so that that revised project is still the entitlements for that project is still subject to approval by our planning commission. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so with them lowering the density on that, is that going to then lower the amount of fee that they're going to have to pay in lieu?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Yes. All right. And then on the French Park lots that you had mentioned for the HUD, I remember a comment being made on those that they were supposed to go out and maybe come up with a better idea to include multi-family use for those lots instead of using single use. Is that anything that you've heard back on from them, or are they just going ahead with the single family plans that they had?
For the project being developed by Habitat?
Yes, the two side-by-side lots.
So it was their project was approved for two single-family homes, a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home, and a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home by the commission and then by City Council.
Okay, thank you very much. Nothing.
Thank you, Commissioner Aguinaga.
I just want to echo what everybody said about thank you, commissioners, for working so hard. Well, I was working so hard in Orlando too. I was afraid. I did not go to Disneyland, no. Avoid it, which the work is vector control. And also, happy birthday, Terry. And thank you, city staff. You guys are great. I'm very happy to be back in this commission. I always love it. It's adorable. The only one that is here is you, right? Monica, you and I. Thank you so much. Thank you for working hard.
Thank you, Commissioner Tardif.
I'd like to thank city staff for setting up a really great, very well organized process, very understandable. I'd like to thank my fellow commissioners for working so hard and accomplishing quite a bit. And I'd like to thank the members of the public who spoke, and the applicants, and the community organizations that do such a great job for our city. Thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Aguinaga.
I would like to thank you to all the students that were outside, and I talked to you guys. Thank you for being here and be part of learning how we're doing our job. This is not easy, and this is most of it is voluntary in this part. But the city work, the staff members working really hard, as you can hear. We have 9 projects. I'm so excited, Jason. 9 projects already through the city. It's beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, and I would just like to echo what has been said. Thank you, staff, for your hard work. Happy birthday, Terry. Thank you for being here with us on your birthday. Thank you to the members of the public that have stayed this long. And I do have a few asks for staff as well, as usual. I would love to have an update on the commission's requested tour of the link. As soon as possible. It'd be great if staff could come back with a few potential dates to present to the commission at the next meeting. I would also like to follow up on the commission's request to create a subcommittee to start planning for next year's CDBG process. So we had specific interest in reviewing the application questions, reviewing the scoring questions, and also creating a rubric that the commission could use. And then also thank you, Judson, for your very detailed update on the status of each of these projects. And I know that you mentioned the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Grant quite a few times. I know what it is because of the work that I do, but I think it would be great if staff could come back with a small presentation on what that program is and how it makes affordable housing possible and how it has made affordable housing possible in Santa Ana. And then last but not least, I would just like to really encourage everybody on the commission to attend the groundbreaking ceremony for the 6th and Lacey Park, and members of the community as well. That will be this Saturday at 2 p.m. And that project is beautiful because that began with, and I think Commissioner Ursula can speak a little bit more to this, but that project is truly a community victory. The residents in that neighborhood demanded open space in 2010, and this has been a very long fight to improve the quality of that neighborhood and to ensure that the families in that neighborhood have amenities. And there's a group there called Vela, Vecindario Lacey en Acción, that worked very closely with staff and with youth to ensure that this project is one that would reflect the community's needs and desires. So there will be a small skating area added to this park. That will be I believe the only other skating area that the city has outside of Centennial. So it's going to be very beautiful. There was a lot of community input, and the project will be completed come August or September of this year. So I really ask that you all come out to celebrate this great feat with the community. And I'd like to give Commissioner Ursula an opportunity to speak more to this because I know you were involved in 2010 and 2009, 2008.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking about the 9 projects also, and 2010 there was plenty of community advocacy for affordable housing, and there wasn't much affordable housing being built at that time, and we had a different staff then also, so it's very encouraging to see the amount of housing that's being built and that we're meeting our arena numbers. That we know that the need is still great, but it definitely took a long time. Somebody else mentioned sometimes these projects take a really long time. 10 years ago, community members in that neighborhood, I knew that the 92701 zip code is one of the most park poor in our county, and talked about the need for having a park. So in addition to having the affordable housing at the Station District and amenities for small business there, if any of you have been to the cafe in that neighborhood, they talked about having a park, and the council members committed to I think it was a half an acre site for a park, but now we're able to see that coming to fruition. So the kids that that were so little then, are 10 years later, are going to be able to enjoy, and new children that were born during that time are going to be able to enjoy that park. And so definitely thank you. It feels very, very good that that's happening. And I hope to see everybody there also.
Thank you. With that, if there are no additional comments, the meeting is